We tend to think of a child's sleep as the pause button, the quiet gap between the parts of the day that actually matter. It's almost the opposite. When your child finally drifts off, their brain doesn't power down, it clocks in. It starts sorting through everything that happened, filing the important bits into long-term memory, tidying up connections, clearing out waste, and, in the deepest stretches, releasing the hormone that literally grows their body. Sleep isn't lost time. It's some of the most productive time of their entire day. So instead of asking only how do I get them down, it's worth knowing what all that sleep is quietly building. Because it changes a lot with age. Here's what's actually going on behind those closed eyes. All day, your child is soaking up a fire hose of new information. Faces, words, how gravity works when you drop a spoon. Awake, there's no time to file any of it. So at night, the brain replays the day, almost like pressing rewind, and moves the keepers into long-term storage. That's why sleep on it is literally true. Kids remember things better after sleeping than right before. At the same time, the brain does its housekeeping, trimming away connections it didn't use, strengthening the ones it did, and flushing out the leftover gunk that built up while awake. Learning doesn't finish when the lesson ends. It finishes overnight. There's an old saying that children grow in their sleep, and it turns out to be almost literally true. The hormone that builds their body, growth hormone, is released in its biggest surge during the deepest, dreamless part of sleep, most of it in the first few hours after they go down. Cut that deep sleep short, night after night, and you're partly closing the very window the body uses to grow and repair. And there's a second nighttime hormone worth knowing. Melatonin, the brain's own "it's dark, it's night" signal. It only rises as the light drops, and a bright screen to the eyes can switch it right back off. So a dim, boring evening isn't just soothing, it's chemistry. It's the cue that lets the whole night's work begin. If you've got a newborn, this is the part nobody quite prepares you for. They sleep a huge amount, around 16 hours a day, and yet almost never for long. There's a reason, and it's not that anything's wrong. A newborn's sleep is about half active sleep, the busy, dreaming, brain-building kind, which is more than double the share an adult gets. Their sleep cycles are also tiny, just 30 to 50 minutes, so they surface often. It feels relentless because it is, but it's development, not malfunction. Somewhere around 3 or 4 months, the brain matures, the deep stages arrive, and sleep slowly knits together into longer stretches. You're not doing it wrong. Their brain just isn't finished yet. Ever notice how a baby learning something new, rolling, babbling, pulling to stand, suddenly seems to sleep even more? That's not a coincidence. In the first year, a baby is learning faster than they ever will again, and sleep is where all that practice gets cemented. Studies show that babies and toddlers who sleep after learning something keep it, while the ones who miss that sleep often lose it. It slips away as if it never happened. This is also why naps aren't optional filler at this age. They're a second and third shift for the memory system, spaced through the day because a little brain can't hold it all at once. The lesson happens awake. The saving happens asleep. Here's one of the great cruel jokes of toddlerhood. A tired toddler doesn't act sleepy. They act wired. Miss the nap, push bedtime too late, and instead of winding down, they speed up. Giddy, frantic, bouncing off the walls, then melting into tears over a broken cracker. That's not defiance. That's a brain running on empty. Part of it is chemical. When kids are short on sleep, their body runs higher on cortisol, the stress and alertness hormone, so they're revved up instead of calm. At the same time, the emotional alarm part of the brain gets louder and the calm it down part gets weaker, so everything feels bigger and lasts longer. And the nap really matters here. For a child who still needs one, skipping it can't just be paid back with a longer night. The daytime sleep does its own job. Protect the nap, and you protect the mood. Somewhere between 3 and 5, the nap starts to fade, and it rarely goes quietly. For a while, there's a messy in-between where a child naps and then won't fall asleep at night, or skips it and falls apart by 5 o'clock. Both are normal. The brain is just renegotiating its schedule. But even as it shrinks, that afternoon sleep is still pulling its weight. Preschoolers who nap after learning something new remember more of it than those who powered through. This is also the age of enormous dreams and sudden nighttime fears, which come with all that vivid dreaming sleep. It's not a step backward. It's a busy imagination doing its overnight work. Once school starts, sleep becomes the first thing everyone quietly trades away. For homework, for screens, for one more chapter. And here's the catch that surprises a lot of parents. In a child, not enough sleep doesn't usually look like tiredness. It looks like behavior. A school-age kid running an hour short can seem inattentive, fidgety, impulsive, quick to melt down. A picture that can look a lot like attention problems. In fact, some children being evaluated for exactly that turn out to be, underneath it all, simply exhausted. None of this means sleep explains everything, but it's so often the missing piece that it's always worth checking first. School-age brains still need 9 to 12 hours. It's not indulgence, it's equipment. So, no magic trick, but a handful of things genuinely move the needle at every age. The big one is rhythm, a similar bedtime, and, just as importantly, a similar wake-up time, even on weekends, because a child's body clock runs on consistency. Second, a short, boring, predictable wind down. The same few calm steps in the same order tells the brain the night shift is coming. Third, protect the hour before bed. Dim, quiet, and screens off, since bright light and fast content are exactly what a settling brain doesn't need. You're not forcing sleep. You can't, really. You're just setting the stage so it can arrive on its own. Small and steady beats strict. If there's one thing to take from all of this, it's that sleep isn't a break from your child's development. It is their development, happening in the dark while you finally get a moment to yourself. Every nap defended, every calm bedtime, every protected hour is your child's brain getting the time it needs to file the day, build what's new, and reset the feelings. It won't always be tidy. There'll be regressions and rough nights and phases that make no sense. That's normal. But when the sleep is roughly there, so much else gets easier. The moods, the learning, the meltdowns. It really is the quiet foundation everything else gets built on top of.